As we continue to track this quickly moving, quickly developing political cycle here in Georgia, as we get into the heart of primary season, into the start of the heart anyway, of 2026's midterm elections, we're going to bring in Faith Jesse, my co-anchor on the Georgia Vote. Faith, we talked to you yesterday. I think it's going so fast. You sat down with Senator Raphael Warnock, one of our two U.S. senators, a Democrat. Today, you have talked to his colleague, fellow Democrat, Senator Jon Ossoff.
The Senate gods are in our favor this week, Zach. You know it's hard to get FaceTime with these guys sometimes.
Well, you know what? You have a knack for it, and it's good because anytime we get a chance, anytime our audience gets a chance to hear from the two U.S. senators who represent all of us in Georgia, it is time well spent.
Yeah.
What stood out to you from your conversation today with Senator Ossoff, who we should point out is up for re-election in November?
That's right. So the first topic I want to point out is one that we spoke to Senator Warnock about yesterday, and that is the FBI raid, and or some people are calling it the search warrants that were executed at the FBI, or excuse me, the Fulton County Elections Facility. So the senator, he's saying that this is something that the president is obsessed with. He says that it is a conspiracy theory that the president just cannot let go of. He also mentioned, I asked him about, his opponents. There's three notable candidates that are vying to unseat him on the Republican side. That's Buddy Carter, Derek Dooley, as well as Mike Collins. Mike Collins and Buddy Carter, of course, both congressmen. And we've heard from at least Collins and Carter on this, supporting this search, saying that the truth needs to come out. Carter saying that the election was stolen, really doubling down on that. I do want to play a piece of our conversation about his thoughts on all of this. Take a listen.
So I think that my opponents in this Senate race need to answer a very simple question. Do they accept that Joe Biden won the presidential election in 2020? Or are they going to join the ranks of these extreme conspiracy theorists in order to curry favor with Donald Trump?
Senator Ossoff, I know that I heard back from at least one of your opponents, Buddy Carter, who says that, doubling down, that there was fraud in the 2020 election. I spoke with Congressman Collins last week when this happened and asked him about this. He said he wants the truth to come out of this. We have not heard from candidate Derek Dooley, but there are people who truly feel that there are still unanswered questions here, at least Mr. Carter and Mr. Collins saying that what's the harm in searching this again? What's your response to them?
Well, 3 recounts and countless audits later, Donald Trump continues to peddle these conspiracy theories, the same theories that led to the January 6th riot at the Capitol when a violent mob was trying to hunt down the Speaker of the House and the Vice President to attack them, based in large part on Donald Trump's conspiracy theories about Georgia. He just can't let it go. He's obsessed, still, 6 years later, with everything we face as a country, with health insurance premiums skyrocketing, tariffs driving costs through the roof. He is spending his time and using federal law enforcement to chase these conspiracy theories from the 2020 election. And it sounds like my opponents are unwilling to break with him and are choosing to pander to the president's obsessions rather than to tell the truth.
And as you heard there in that conversation, Faith, and as you asked, there were a number of recounts and court cases, legal challenges. None uncovered fraud or irregularities to the level that would have tipped the result of Georgia's 2020 presidential election.
11,780.
It was a very narrow result in that race, and a pivotal one that helped propel one of the key swing states that helped propel Joe Biden to the White House, to the presidency.
That's right.
What else stood out to you in your conversation with the senator as he is tracking all of this? The Republicans right now are in a pretty heated battle going into the May primary. President Trump has not endorsed anyone yet in the Republican primary. The senator, he's going to get the Democratic endorsement. I mean, he's going to be watching until the November general starts up, but he's watching this closely.
That's right. He's not sitting back, but he does not have a competitor, a notable competitor in the primary. He could have a competitor, but he will likely be the nominee. He is looking at this. What I'm getting from him is that he sees these candidates, at least Mike Collins and Buddy Carter, he said it in his words, pandering to the American people, pandering to try to get Donald Trump's endorsement in this race and not caring about the American people. Those are his words coming out of this. The campaign, it's going to be hot, Zach. It's going to be fierce. A lot of money in it. At last check, he has raised the most out of any Senate candidate, I think out of any candidate running for office right now. A lot of money in this race. The other candidates also, those numbers just came out, and we'll talk about them later on the show. But because of this, you're going to start seeing attacks. And I asked him about a statement that RNC spokeswoman Emma Hall sent out, talking about money that was given to him by Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, who, of course, is his colleague in Congress. And she is seen as a progressive. People say that Jon Ossoff is trying to paint himself as a moderate to appeal to those Georgia voters, maybe those independents that are not necessarily as liberal or as progressive. Emma Hall wrote in a statement, "You can't accept campaign donations from a socialist and then sell yourself as a moderate to voters. Jon Ossoff isn't fooling anyone. He's with AOC and the far left, not Georgians." I asked him what his response is to this. This is what he had to say.
I expect all of the usual partisan attacks over the next 9 months. Here's what I'm hearing from my constituents. I'm hearing from a 60-year-old woman who waits tables in the middle of a cancer fight, who is losing her health insurance in the middle of chemotherapy because Donald Trump and Republicans in Congress refused to extend Affordable Care Act tax credits. I'm hearing from small businesses getting crushed by these tariffs. I'm hearing from folks in every part of our state dealing with higher and higher prices because of these chaotic trade wars. Georgia farmers are in distress because of these trade wars. But instead of solving those problems, what this president is doing is threatening to invade Greenland, sending federal agents and the national spy chief to raid ballots in Fulton County. I think this administration is careening out of control from Minneapolis, Minnesota to Fulton County, Georgia, and it speaks to the need for real checks and balances in Washington to constrain an out-of-control president.
There, Faith, talk about the issue of affordability. That has been an issue that Republicans and Democrats are trying to plant their flag in. In fairness, I'm sure you addressed this, in fairness, Republicans have a different look at that ACA debate. They have, and I know this, you've gotten these statements too, some Republicans have charged that Democratic senators who they would blame for the government shutdown, Democrats would blame Republicans, but they have argued that the shutdown led to affordability issues for some people who didn't get a federal paycheck while the shutdown was on towards the end of last year. This is going to be a driving issue in this Senate race. Did he say anything on that, and what else stood out to you in your conversation?
Yeah, I mean, I think the affordability argument is something that everybody's making federally, like at his level in Congress as well as statewide. And he and all Democrats, they have their way of getting to it, and Republicans have their way of getting to it, right? But overall, people want to make sure that you have money in your pockets to do the right thing. I will say one other thing that stood out, and we didn't pull a soundbite. You can catch it on later editions of 11 Alive today. We did talk about the issue with ICE. There is a detention center that is being proposed in Social Circle, Georgia. He did a joint statement with the mayor of Social Circle saying that, calling on the Trump administration to abandon this plan. You're going to hear from Grace King in a bit on what the developments of Social Circle. But in regards to ICE, the senator, he signed the Lake and Riley Act with Raphael Warnock. Within that Lake and Riley Act, this was something that was really authored by Republican Congressman Mike Collins.
And Senate rival now.
And Senate rival now. And it was after that devastating loss of the nursing student on UGA's campus. And within the verbiage of that bill, it gives authorities the power to arrest undocumented immigrants who are who commit crimes, whether that be a very small misdemeanor crime or a felony crime. And he and Senator Warnock signed that. He says that he supports tightening the border. He supports security. He does not believe that violent criminals should be in the country. But he was also extremely staunch about we should not be killing Americans. We should not have masked officers on the streets barging into Americans' homes, taking Americans from their homes. And so, once again, we are going to play more of that on later editions of 11 Night News. of course, we will have this whole conversation on 11 to Life Plus right here, and streaming here for you all to go and watch that. But it's a moderate stance, I would say, in my opinion.
And a lot of people would. I know that many Republicans would take a different tack on that too. And that's the thing, in the law, we talk about jurors are the best and final fact finder, and in elections too, right? Voters are the ones who
right.
listen to all of this, listen to this great reporting and these interviews, and they're going to make those calls both in the primary and in November. You talk about the immigration conversation, the conversation about, I know the senator has been vocally opposed to masked federal immigration agents. We've seen a real flashpoint in Minneapolis, Operation Metro Surge, that Border Czar Tom Homan just yesterday or maybe the day before said about 700 federal immigration agents are now leaving Minnesota, but there are about 3,000, so still a big presence there.
And I will say on Nightly News with Tom Llamas, his exclusive interview with President Trump, you even saw a softening in his tone, saying that he did not think, he was not proud of the killings, I believe were
The
his
president,
words.
he
The
said,
president said that he was
maybe
not
adopt a more softer
a
touch.
softer touch to this. So it's interesting to see, the language. Also, I think President Trump said we have a PR issue, saying that we're doing a really good job. His administration is doing a really good job, but his PR people aren't able to articulate that correctly. So take that for what you will. But we are seeing a change in dialect from the president, from his administration on this. Will we see that? That's the big question, though. If this detainment facility comes to Georgia, to Social Circle, will you have what we saw in Minnesota in Georgia?
And last question for you here, Faith. Democrats have in the Senate, and Chuck Schumer, the minority leader, talked about this earlier. DHS funding has been approved, the Department of Homeland Security, that is the umbrella agency above ICE and other federal immigration efforts. Their funding was extended in this federal funding package that ended the partial shutdown, but only for 2 weeks.
Temporarily.
A 2-week window for legislators like Senator Ossoff, Senator Warnock, Congressman Collins and Carter, everybody else, to find a way forward on policies, procedures, and funding levels for DHS. Have you gotten any indication of where those negotiations are right now? I know it's early.
Personally, I have not. I can, read the tea leaves like you're
Sure.
reading. But I would say perhaps that's why we're seeing this softening tone from the president. Perhaps this is why they are taking a different approach on enforcement, focusing on those who are not here in the country legally, those undocumented people, and not Americans. I think that what you're hearing from the senator here is that he don't touch Americans. Why are you touching Americans? You said that you're coming in to arrest people who are in the country making crimes and they're not supposed to be here legally. Why are you arresting Americans? Why are you killing Americans? So if we see that verbiage change, potentially you could see some compromise or negotiation, but you'd have to ask the senators that, and I'll ask them that next time.
And I know there will be another conversation. You're talking about the Americans who were harmed, who were killed. Alex Preddy and Renee Good, two protesters in Minneapolis, fatally shot by federal immigration agents in the span of a couple weeks. Always a lot to keep track of, Faith. We know you're going to stay on top of it.
And you will too. Our phones are ringing off the hook.
It's a team effort here. And all of you who follow along and watch and ask great questions too, we are grateful for all of you.